there's a saying that I've been told my entire life is there's never going to be reward without risk. So if you're not willing to risk something, don't expect a reward. And I think this is a wonderful platform to display that in. And the risk on our part, honestly, is minimal compared to what the show is risking. You put all this together and you don't get the entries. That doesn't just hurt us; that hurts you guys too.
I wonder, sorry to cut you off there, but I wonder when that's going to change. Like, I wonder when drivers are going to see that all we are doing is trying to build the biggest stage for you guys to make your name, for us to promote you guys. I wonder when it's going to change. Like, hey, my success, at the show is your success too, because the bigger stage, the more money. Like, when is that going to change? I don't understand. I mean, I can't talk to every driver out there, but geez, man, I mean, there was just so much like resentment or I hope that show fails, or he ain't going to get 100 entries, or why is that? When is it going to change?
I wish I had the answer to that. I think a popular word during this podcast will be education, because for some reason people are so uneducated in this area, and they look at, here's Triple D and they're trying to put this show on and they're going to pay this much and how much is he making, and they try to turn it around to you. But if you look at the big picture, you see people running county fairs for $500 payouts, right? You want to talk about getting robbed, man. You go out there, and I don't care if you're in a bone stock car that you paid $500 for. You go out there and you put on a hell of a show, and you bring in a couple $100,000 worth of revenue for the fair to run for $500, and you don't hear anybody complaining about that. They're still doing it, right? Everybody's still running their county fairs. They're still packing the grandstands there. But when it comes to building the stage and giving us somewhere to perform and turn our hobby into an actual organized sport and making it so much bigger than what it is. I mean, the potential's there. Everything's there. A lot of the groundwork has been done. We as drivers just need to get together and push it forward. Everybody needs to envision the same thing and take advantage of what's been there and what's coming for us. That's what caught me about this show when I saw the $50,000 to win, and best case scenario, all I got to do is beat 4 cars for the chance to run for that 50. That's a hell of an opportunity. I go to a county fair and I got to beat 15 cars to maybe get $500. I'm not a big fan of those odds.
Absolutely. But going back to the show, like thinking about like us working together, you guys have started to do a really good job of promoting the show that you're going to run. Why are drivers not doing that? Right. It's detrimental to the sport. And we've talked about this. It's almost as if we're starting over, because there's never been a base. There's never been, like, if you want to talk about like the NFL, think of like the 70s or 80s, right? And those teams and those players, they don't make the same money as the players today, but they were building the platform for people to build on. They were giving back to the sport. So many times the so-called big names, they're not on social media. Okay. They don't tell you where they're running. They don't update you on the build. They don't promote the show that they're running. What is the disconnect there? Like, we're in this together. How can I be a fan? Like Travis, how can I be a fan of you if the last thing I knew of you were retiring? And if you don't put anything out there and you just show up at the King, how can I be a fan? I didn't know what you were doing. You've never kept me updated. There's been so much disconnect between like a driver and the promotion of an event. It's crazy because some people, they'll say, well, I don't want to promote the event because I don't want Dustin to have success. Look, if Dustin has success, the Derby world has success, because the only reason why I'm doing this is to organize the sport in which will elevate everybody. This isn't about Dustin. This isn't about Triple D. This is about creating an actual sport, man. And we got to have those things.
Absolutely. I agree. There's a huge disconnect. I see it. I realize it. I struggle to understand it, because if I look, when I'm running somewhere, man, I tell all my buddies, I tell my family, I put a post on Facebook, because I want to see all the people I know there. I hope they come out to support me, and I want to give them something to support. So the bigger names of people that, the Don Santos and the Bob Whitakers, and all of these icons of our sport, that if you don't personally know them, you don't know where they're going next, unless there's a driver's list that was put out, which that's a whole nother can of beans, I guess you could say. How many people get upset that someone put out a driver's list? But that's the stuff that we need to drive this sport. Look at NASCAR has a schedule that comes out every year. Sprint cars have a schedule that come out every year. Any organized sport has a schedule, and that's what the fans, the players, and everybody look forward to. Like, the Bears are playing the Packers this day. Everybody puts in their vacation to go watch this big rival game, whatever. We need that kind of organization to get to a level of similar sorts, which I think is possible. And to touch on what you're saying, as far as, people not putting that out there and not updating it, I think it's a matter of, this is just a hobby that started for them so long ago, and they just do it because that's what they know. And maybe they are not interested in seeing it turn into something more. And that's where I think we bring education in, and we get the younger people educated, and we get them to buy in, and we create what we need going forward. That's to touch back on Tyler. I told my buddy, hey man, the best thing you can do is to send off your registration, commit. We'll get you a car together to run the King, and go get the knowledge, go get the track time. You're not going to learn anything running your county fair against your 5 buddies. You're just at a plateau, and you're doing the same thing over and over. If you want the knowledge and you want the experience, you just got to get out there and do it. So what better place to do it than this? Go out there, give it a shot. Maybe you win. Hopefully, you, at the minimum, you make the feature. You get $1,000 back just for making the feature. That's awesome. And he bought into it. He's like, you know what? You're right. I do want to be better. I want to grow in this sport. I want to be a big name. And to do that, I need practice. I need experience. And I'm not going to get that running my local show. So, yeah, here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah, you're not going to get exposure, right? There's so many things to touch on there. When you talk about when you talked about running on this stage and being a young guy, like, and people getting a demographic to buy in, I think that we've kind of realized that not everybody's going to do that, because some people don't want to see it go any further than what it is, and for whatever reason, which is totally fine. But we're going to need that as a sport. Like, we're going to need people to put it on the line. We're going to need some of these guys running our event to, some of these guys are going to lose, but you're going to make names of other people, right? And we're going to start to build that platform in which we're giving back. I mean, Jason Kidman is a guy that I talk to quite frequently. He's jumped on the TikTok stuff, and other people have jumped on it too. But even with him, like, Kidman's the one that started all that, because he was in that meeting that we had with the Jegs guys, and they were like, hey, look, this is where you need to go. Kidman started all that, and then you still got people jealous of him, and what he's doing, just because, like, hey, what have you done on the track? It's like, well, he's done a lot for the sport. Like, what are you doing for let's talk about what he's done for the sport. He's grown the sport to millions of eyeballs on TikTok. Um, maybe his tracks, his I mean, he won Blizzard Bash, but maybe the track success is going to come in the future, as he grows his audience. We've got to look at it in terms of that, and every show, every build, if we got to get the people that are doing it to give back to the sport. I mean, think about this, man.